Find hope between no longer and not yet. There are seasons in life that do not have a clear name. You are no longer who you were, but you are not yet who you are becoming. The old chapter has ended. The new chapter has not fully begun. You have left something behind, but what comes next remains uncertain. And if you have ever found yourself in that space, you know how uncomfortable it can be. We like certainty. We like knowing where we are headed. We like having answers. But some of the most important moments in our lives happen in the space between no longer and not yet. The space where things feel unfinished. The space where growth is happening even when we cannot see it. The space where hope becomes essential. The in between can feel like being lost. Most people do not struggle with beginnings, and most people do not struggle with endings. What they struggle with is the middle, that awkward, uncertain place where the old life no longer fits, but the new life has not fully arrived. A career ends, a relationship changes, a dream evolves, a version of yourself falls away, and suddenly you find yourself standing on unfamiliar ground, not where you were, not yet where you are going, just somewhere in between. That space can feel lonely, but it is also where transformation begins. I used to think uncertainty meant something was wrong. Whenever I found myself in a transition, I wanted answers immediately. I wanted clarity. I wanted certainty. I wanted to know exactly how everything would work out. And if I did not have those answers, I assumed something was wrong. Maybe I was making a mistake. Maybe I was failing. Maybe I was falling behind. But over time, I learned that uncertainty is often a sign that something is changing. Not something failing, something evolving. And evolution rarely comes with a detailed roadmap. Growth often happens in space we cannot measure. One of the hardest things about personal growth is that much of it is invisible. You cannot always see the progress. You cannot always measure the healing. You cannot always recognize the lessons while you are living them. Sometimes growth is happening beneath the surface, quietly, gradually, like roots forming underground before anything breaks through the soil. The absence of visible results does not mean nothing is happening. It may mean everything important is happening where you cannot yet see it. Hope is not the same as certainty. Many people confuse hope with confidence. They think hope means knowing things will work out. But hope does not require certainty. Hope simply requires possibility. The willingness to believe that this current moment is not the final chapter. The willingness to believe there is more ahead than what you currently see. You do not have to know exactly how things will unfold. You only have to believe that they can. The old version of you cannot come with you. Part of why transitions feel so difficult is because we are often grieving something, not always a person, not always a situation. Sometimes we are grieving a version of ourselves, the person we used to be, the identity we carried, the expectations we held, the plans we thought our life would follow. Letting go of those things can be painful, but holding on to them too tightly can prevent us from becoming who we are meant to be next. There is a difference between stuck and transitioning. This realization changed a lot for me. Just because you are not where you want to be does not mean that you are stuck. You may be transitioning. You may be integrating lessons. You may be building something that has not yet revealed itself. The problem is that transitions often look like stagnation from the outside. And because they look quiet, we assume nothing is happening. But some of the most important changes in life happen quietly. I learned to stop rushing the process. For years, I wanted every uncomfortable season to end as quickly as possible. I wanted answers before they arrived, solutions before I understood the problem, results before I completed the work. But growth does not operate on our preferred timeline. Some lessons take time. Some healing takes time. Some clarity takes time. And trying to rush the process often creates more frustration than progress. The space between is where trust is built. When everything is clear, trust is easy. When the path is obvious, faith requires very little effort. But in the space between no longer and not yet, something deeper develops. You learn to trust yourself. You learn to trust your resilience. You learn to trust that uncertainty is survivable. And that trust becomes one of the most valuable things you carry into your future. Look for evidence of possibility. When life feels uncertain, it is easy to focus on what is missing, the answers, the certainty, the destination. But hope grows when we begin noticing possibility, small signs, small victories, small reminders that movement is still happening. You do not need proof of the entire journey. Sometimes you only need enough light to take the next step. The future is being built right now. The version of your life you are hoping for is not waiting somewhere in the distance. It is being built in the choices you make today, the lessons you are learning, the resilience you are developing, the perspective you are gaining, the person you are becoming. Even if it does not feel dramatic, even if it does not feel fast, even if it does not feel finished, it is happening. Find hope in the middle. If you find yourself in a season of uncertainty, remember this: you are not where you were, and you are not yet where you are going. But that does not mean you are lost. It means you are becoming. The space between no longer and not yet is not empty. It is full of possibility, full of growth, full of lessons, full of preparation. And if you can learn to find hope there, you may discover that the middle was never something to endure. It was something that was quietly shaping you all along. Slay reflection. S. See the season. What area of your life feels like it is caught between no longer and not yet? L. Look for growth. What lessons or strengths might be developing beneath the surface? A. Acknowledge the progress. How have you already changed, even if the final outcome is not yet visible? Why? Your next step. What is one small action you can take today that reflects hope instead of fear? Call to action. Join the conversation. I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever gone through a season where nothing seemed clear, only to realize later that it was preparing you for what came next? Share your story in the comments. Let's cheer each other on. And if you know someone who might need this reminder, send this to them. Sometimes all we need is a nudge. I'm Carrie Genzel, reading a blog from stateofslay.com. Slay on.